War I broke out, it was largely expected to be a short campaign. By 1915, it was clear that the war was going to last, and there were not enough men for the army, even though huge amounts of Empire and Commonwealth soldiers were being mobilised. By the summer of 1915, recruitment rates were slowing, despite a stepped-up campaign. Lord Kitchener pointed out of even more billboards asking for men, and the King made a direct appeal to his subjects, to little avail. Prime Minister Herbert Asquith called a cabinet committee to debate the matter. There were great divisions over conscription in the coalition government. Conservative MPs were largely pro, with Liberal and Labour against. Liberals felt it was an infringement of rights and it should be up to a man's individual conscience whether he fought or not. Labour argued that the aim of conscription was to bring the working classes under the military control of the ruling classes. The Labour Party called on their ministers in the coalition government to resign if the bill was passed. Those against conscription had support from some military leaders who felt that men who'd been compelled to fight would be poor soldiers. And across all MPs, there was great pride that British men volunteered to fight for their country, unlike in Germany, where they had to be forced. Asquith himself was torn, agreeing in principle, but concerned about the implementation and the idea of forcing people. But Lord Northcliffe's much-read Daily Mail was an advocate, and then there was David Lloyd George, Liberal but a powerful voice for war and Minister for Munitions. He'd become determined on conscription, and he was talking of resignation, which was dangerous because he was popular. Asquith feared Lloyd George was out to break the government on conscription. Asquith had to introduce the bill with concessions, notably allowing for the possibility of conscientious objection, and he also added late age limitations in order to persuade the Labour ministers, including Arthur Henderson, not to resign. In January 1916, the Military Services Act was passed, allowing for the conscription of all single men between 18 and 41, with exemption from medical cases and key workers. John Simon, Liberal Home Secretary, resigned. The restrictions added to keep Labour on side were later overturned, as married men were included and the age limit raised to 51. Women were encouraged to join the auxiliary forces voluntarily. Lloyd George had won his victory, as he later declared, "You cannot run a war as you would a Sunday school treat when one man brings the buns, another supplies the tea." Lord Northcliffe thought it his victory. There are a number of secret sessions of Parliament during World War I, not recorded in Hansard. They were mainly on military spending, but one, on the 17th of January 1918, was on a bill to introduce conscription in Ireland. It never occurred there. There was huge feeling against conscription in Ireland, including from the church. When it came to war, clearly the individual liberty could be overridden. 20 years later, Parliament had made plans. On the day that Britain declared war on Germany, the 3rd of September 1939, a Conscription Act was immediately passed. Conscription, as enforced by Parliament, was well and truly a part of war.